Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer. It's time for the Clippers to prove themselves. They went down tonight 2-0 to the Utah Jazz, a situation they just found themselves in against the Dallas Mavericks. The problem is that this Jazz team is far better than that Mavericks team was. Yes, Luka Doncic is incredible, and he's better than anyone on this Jazz team, but Donovan Mitchell himself is proving to be a playoff-level superstar. I'm not saying he's a superstar overall, which, in my opinion, is like the top 8 or so players in the NBA, but the way he has played over the last couple playoffs have proven to me that Donovan Mitchell, when it comes down to it in the playoffs, is a guy that can lead your team. The way that he's playing in this series, the way that he has played his entire career throughout the playoffs, beating my Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round of the playoffs in his rookie season, Donovan Mitchell's just built for it. And that's a lot what I talked about in my last video when I talked about this series after game 1, where Donovan Mitchell was electric, having over 40 points. Tonight, he did it again. Not quite 40, but he had 37, which was pretty damn close. And every time they needed a bucket, Donovan Mitchell made it happen. He did seem to kind of have some kind of tweak. Him and Paul George bumped towards the end of the game. I'm hoping that's nothing serious. He was kind of hobbling, but he was able to play out the rest of the game on whatever the injury was. It looked like maybe they bumped knees or he re-twisted that ankle that he had hurt. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and it was kind of just in the moment, because without Donovan Mitchell, this Jazz team really doesn't run. And not only are the Clippers in a 2-0 hole, but the Jazz haven't had Mike Conley, an all-star this past season. He is the guy that really runs their offense a lot of the time, and he hasn't played a single minute in either of these games, and the Clippers are down 2-0. Joe Ingles has been a lot of their primary ball handler, and he has been so good. He didn't play very well the first game. Well, he didn't shoot very well, but overall he's been a really great presence in terms of playmaking, handling the ball. Him and Rudy Gobert, this is something they said on the broadcast, but him and Rudy Gobert have great chemistry. Every time Rudy Gobert rolls to the cup off a pick and roll with Joe Ingles, he's going to get it and he's going to put it in the basket. It's almost a 100% success play, it feels like. And there's really just no one on this Clippers team to stop that. The Clippers have to go small because Zubac is just not the answer. And when they run that small lineup out there, which tonight their closing lineup included Luke Kennard for some reason. I guess they wanted some scoring, but Donovan Mitchell just cooked him to seal the game. I don't really know. But there's just no way for them to stop Rudy Gobert. They can't stop any of the perimeter guys for the Jazz. No one can stop Donovan Mitchell. Jordan Clarkson at 24, 19 from Joe Ingles. It just felt like a lot of possessions. The Clippers just got careless, both offensive and defensive. And so if they want to prove that they are the team that they say they are, if they want to prove that they're the team that the whole world thinks that they can be, I think the Clippers can win this title. I do think that. I think they're talented enough. I think they're well coached at times. Tyronn Lue, once again, is just not making adjustments like he did at the start of the Dallas series. But I feel like the team is here. But this is their moment to put up or shut up. Prove yourself right now. Because if the Clippers go down 3-0, or if they come and win one game, go down 3-1, it's over. The Jazz aren't going to blow that lead. So this game 3 is their chance to prove themselves to the world right now. They don't want to hear the slander. They don't want to hear all the jokes about the Clippers. They don't want to hear the jokes about Cancun or whatever. Prove it right now, because you are playing a title contending team. The Dallas Mavericks, as good as they were not a title contending team. And the Clippers almost lost them in that first round. Now you go once again to the switch arenas down 2-0. This time they're going home, where, to be honest, they've been even worse than they've been on the road in the playoffs, and the Jazz might get a third All-Star back. So what are you going to do? Are you going to play up to the challenge? Are you going to prove yourselves? And are you going to win that game 3, win that game 4, and send it back to Utah tied up? Or are you going to go down 3-0 or 3-1 and just give up? What are you going to do? This is going to show us what the Clippers are made of, and I'm really excited for it. Donovan Mitchell's been super electric. The Clippers have to find a way to stop him. They've thrown Kawhi at him. They've thrown Paul George at him a lot, and just no one's able to stop him. And on the other side of the ball, Paul George continues to struggle in terms of efficiency in the first half. Towards the end of these games, Paul George has really been turning it up. It's just sometimes too little too late. Like in this game, he finished with 27, 10, and 6. He had a really good game towards the end. It's just those first halves he has to get together. Kawhi Leonard tonight, 21, 4, and 5. He needs to do more. The problem is Bojan Bogdanovic is playing some of the best defense I have seen on Kawhi in a while. He's not a guy that I typically think of as a great defender. I think of him as like a decent defender, but when I look at Bojan Bogdanovic, I don't think of him typically as a really good defender. And there were so many possessions tonight where Kawhi didn't shoot that poorly. He shot around 50%, but there were so many possessions where Kawhi was trying to force the issue. Kawhi was trying to make something happen for his team because they needed his offense bad. But Bojan Bogdanovic did such a damn good job at denying Kawhi Leonard the shots he wanted. Kawhi kept trying to get inside for that mid-range that he loves to take, and Bojan wasn't letting him have it. He was playing up on him, he was playing physical, he was keeping his hands in the right spots where he wasn't drawing any contact. Every shot Kawhi took with Bojan guarding him was contested, and it was a difficult shot. Kawhi hits those sometimes, but when you have to keep taking contested shots and you never get any wide open looks, it's hard to get into a rhythm. And Bojan was just throwing them all off. Quinn Snyder is such a good coach. Quinn Snyder is like a top 5 coach in this league. He's amazing. And his game plan to stop the Clippers has been perfect. He has tried to force the Clippers to be a team or play team basketball kind of the way that the Jazz do. They are trying to force it out of their stars' hands, specifically get the ball out of Kawhi's hands and make the other guys make a play. Paul George did a good job tonight trying to do that. Reggie Jackson had 29. He did a great job. But outside of those two guys, nothing. Nick Batum, 7. Patrick Beverley, 3. Patrick Beverley he had a couple good steals. Awful offensively. He just can't do anything. DeMarcus Cousins had 6. Luke Kennard had 3. Terrence Mann played 1 minute. Marcus Morris, starting lineup, had 8 points. 7 for Zubac, who played 14 minutes. There's just not enough depth on this team to play team basketball. You need Kawhi and Paul George to carry this team at times. And if Kawhi is not able to get more than like 20 points in a game, it's really hard for me to see them winning a single game in this series. Kawhi has to be dropping 30 to keep up with this Jazz offense. But with the schemes that the Jazz are running between Bojan Bogdanovic playing great defense on Kawhi, Joe Ingles playing good defense on both Kawhi and Paul George, with Donovan Mitchell stepping it up defensively, with Rudy Gobert being that roamer that is really, really tough to get anything inside on. There was a play earlier today where Patrick Beverley kind of had an open layup, and he didn't shoot it because Rudy Gobert was lurking. It was a shot that Rudy Gobert could have blocked, but it probably would have been difficult. But for Patrick Beverley, if you see the shadow of the 3-time now, after yesterday, 3-time reigning defensive player of the year behind you, you're terrified to take that shot. The Clippers just can't get it inside. Rudy Gobert was so good. In addition to that 13 and 20, which, by the way, 20 rebounds is his playoff career high, he had 3 blocks. And it felt like he could have had 100 more if the Clippers dared to shoot inside on him, and they just didn't. They have a great game plan. They have great personnel to stop the Clippers, and this is the Clippers' chance. You have your backs against the wall. If you lose this game 3, the series is over. I know it's not physically over, but there has been no team that's ever come back from down 3-0 in a series. And I don't think this Jazz team is way too good to be the first team to make that mistake. So, game 3, this is your shot. We'll see if Mike Conley's back or not. Hopefully Donovan Mitchell is healthy enough to play after what looked like kind of a scary collision. But assuming, especially if Mike Conley's here to go, show us what you're made of. I've been defending the Clippers. As a Thunder fan, it's probably in my best interest if they lose. That's in terms of the draft picks, by the way, if you're wondering why. We own their draft picks. So, if they lose, maybe Kawhi leaves. There's probably a low chance of that happening, but better than nothing. But I still think they're a title team. I do. I think they're a contending team. I've made multiple videos over the course of this season saying these are not last year's Clippers. This team can fight through adversity. They fought through adversity in that Maverick series. Let's see them do it again. Go ahead. Show to the world that I'm right. And if they don't, it happens. So either way, I win, because either way, they prove me right, or they go down 3-0, and maybe we get Kawhi Leonard to leave, and we get great draft picks for the next couple seasons. So we'll see on that front. But that's what I wanted to say about this. The Jazz are just super good. Quinn Snyder's great. Donovan Mitchell's great. Everyone is playing so well on the Jazz right now. They're just a great team. And like I said in previous videos, my one worry about the Jazz was that they didn't have a superstar. And when it comes to the playoffs, Donovan Mitchell's a superstar. So that fixes that problem for me. Bucks Nets. This game was the best horrible game of all time. It was very reminiscent, if you remember, Game 7, of the 2016 NBA Finals, Cavs Warriors, where at the end of the game the score was stuck at like 89 apiece for the longest time. neither team could score. The Nets and the Bucks had a similar situation where just neither team could score for the longest time. And then we got to about 2.5 minutes remaining, and it was Chris Middleton mid-range bucket, Kevin Durant mid-range bucket, Chris Middleton mid-range bucket, Kevin Durant 3 or mid-range bucket. Miss on the other end, Kevin Durant 3. Kevin Durant kind of took over at the end of this game. The only reason the Bucks won were Giannis and Chris Middleton, and I'm mainly shouting out Chris Middleton here. Chris Middleton proved everybody wrong. He was so good in this game. He had 35 points, 15 rebounds, 1 assist, really efficient, doing what he had to do to get this team a win. There was a point in this game where if Giannis or Chris Middleton weren't shooting the ball, I was unhappy with the shot. And probably the biggest win in this entire game for the Milwaukee Bucks was Mike Budenholzer played his guys. Giannis played 43, Jrue Holiday played 46, Chris Middleton played 44. They showed urgency because they knew if they lost this game, the series is over. You're not coming back down 3-0 to the Brooklyn Nets. You're not going to come back from that. So this was their game to prove themselves, like I was talking about with the Clippers, and that's exactly what they did. They proved themselves. It was really Chris Middleton and Giannis proved themselves, scoring 68 of their 86 points. The rest of the guys have to step up. Jrue Holiday had a big bucket in crunch time, and he played 46 minutes. I can't get on Jrue Holiday too much. He did not have a great game, but scoring that clutch bucket to help them win the game and playing 46 minutes is really all I can ask from him at this point. He's had a bad shooting night. They're going to happen. He's got to be better if they want to win this series, if they want to fight their way back into it, because they've won one game, but you've got to win at least one more. You've got to win the next one. If you don't tie it up 2-2, it's almost impossible for them to come back. So you've got to tie this up 2-2 in Milwaukee. And maybe these disgusting games are the ones that Milwaukee wants to play. If you play physical, hard-nosed defense, then maybe this is the way Milwaukee wants to play. I don't know. But one gripe I had with the way Milwaukee played in this game is Giannis had awful shot selection at the end of the game. Giannis, you are 7 feet tall. He started this game on fire because he kept attacking the basket and he stopped doing that to end the game. He shot way too many threes. He can't be taking 8 threes in a game. You can take them sometimes if you're in rhythm. If you catch and shoot, sure, pull up from it. But you are 7 feet tall. Stop taking that many threes. You don't need to. There's no point in doing that. He was dominating. The Bucks were dominating when Giannis was attacking the basket, and then he stopped. And also Bruce Brown turned into God, but he really reversed that at the end. We'll talk about that in a second. Giannis has to keep attacking. Everyone has been saying it. The whole reason some people picked the Bucks in this series is because no one could stop Giannis if he attacked the rim, and he stopped doing that. What was working? I don't know. That's one problem I have with Mike Budenholzer. He's got to get in Giannis's head and say, bro, you are 7 feet tall. Stop shooting threes. Giannis was playing like Kristaps Porzingis out there. He was playing like I think someone said he's like a 5'23" as opposed to like a 7 foot. Giannis was playing like he was 5'20" rather than 7 feet tall at some points in this game. You got to stop taking these difficult pull-up threes because you are such a dominant force inside. No one on the Nets can stop you. He was just running to the rim, just laying it right up over them. He can get a layup at the rim almost every single time. He's got to do it better. He's got to do more of that because this game was almost a disaster if they ended up losing this one. Nets side of the ball. Kevin Durant, like I said, electric to end the game. Bad first half, really turned it around with 30, 11, and 5. Kyrie had 22 and 5. Probably need a little bit more from him. Joe Harris was not good tonight. UVA legend, shout out to him, but not good. It felt like anytime he shot within that mid-range area, he just couldn't hit anything. He had one possession where he had like 3 straight shots off offensive rebounds, and he just couldn't hit a single one of them despite being wide open. Blake Griffin had some solid defensive possessions tonight, and Bruce Brown was probably the guy I most want to talk about because Bruce Brown had the biggest up and down I've seen in a single game in a very long time. Bruce Brown was hitting floater after floater after floater over Brook Lopez. He scored like 10 straight points off of floaters over Brook Lopez to start the game in like the second quarter. He had like 12 points to start the game going into halftime. Then at the end of the game, he kept shooting those floaters, and they absolutely stopped falling. They were bricks on bricks on bricks, and he kept shooting them. You have Kevin Durant on your team. Get Kevin Durant the basketball. He was just taking too many shots. And given some of them were like late shot clock situations where he's just trying to make a play, sure, go for it. But there were some where it was just like, bro, swing the ball. You're attacking Brook Lopez at the rim. There's got to be some mismatch out there with someone that Brook Lopez isn't guarding. So get the ball to that person, let them go to work, and just chill out. And then if Brook Lopez shades off to go help, stand out in the three-point line and just take a catch-and-shoot three rather than taking a floater over a 7-footer over and over and over again, because eventually it just stopped working. So he's got to be better about that. He's got to get the ball to their stars more. This game was definitely winnable for Brooklyn, despite being a blowout to start off the game. And the Bucks just held on. I got to give them credit for that. That's resilience, because when this Brooklyn Nets team storms back, and like I said, this was a hideous game. Awful shooting from both teams, especially in that fourth quarter. It was still exciting. It was really fun. I liked this game a lot. Like I said, best awful game I've ever watched. I enjoyed it. I'd watch 30 more. So those are my thoughts on the games from tonight. If Milwaukee wants to get back into the series, like I said, they got to tie it up in the fourth game of the series. I don't know why I said it like that. Game 4, they've got to tie it up in game 4. Otherwise, they're screwed. And they need to try and get as many wins as they can before James Harden comes back. I don't know when he's going to be back, if he comes back in this series. But the quicker they get wins before James Harden comes back, the better off their chances are of taking this one. So shout out to the Bucks for making this a series. Shout out to Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz for clamping up and just playing great basketball. Let's see what the Clippers are made of. Let's see what the Bucks can keep it going. Let me know what you thought about these games. If you made it to this point in the video, drop a shout out Donovan Mitchell or something like that in the comments. I don't really know. Drop a Chris Middleton in the comment section below to let me know that you made it this far, because Chris deserves love for all. Chris Middleton was getting slandered the hell out of on Twitter the last couple of days. So good for him for turning it around. Hopefully he can keep that going, because the Bucks need him. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I will see you guys later. Real one, say it back.